The country's facing what is perhaps its biggest challenge since the war. We have a new and as yet untested Prime Minister, so never more perhaps have we needed a strong opposition. After a year of infighting, can Labour become that once the question of who leads the party is settled later this week? The signs are not good. The former party leader Neil Kinnock tells tonight's BBC Panorama programme that he doesn't expect to see another Labour government in his lifetime if Jeremy Corbyn is re-elected. Meanwhile, Mr Corbyn's supporters are talking about deselecting Labour MPs who don't back him and allowing members to choose who serves in his shadow cabinet. Now, Mr Corbyn and his allies often complain that his critics, whether in their own party or indeed in what they call the mainstream media, are not giving him a fair hearing and ignore the fact that he's made Labour the largest party in Europe. I went to his last big leadership campaign rally in Birmingham on Saturday to talk to him and to them.
Yes, we can, yes, we can, yes, we can, yes, we can.
They may not be the greatest singers here in Birmingham Centenary Square, but they're in no doubt of the truth of their message, that yes we can, that they, in other words, can get Jeremy Corbyn to win the Labour leadership for a second time in a year.
OK, do I copy the Socialists? Support Jeremy Corbyn, fight for socialism.
Today's front page, let's have a look. What have you got there?
We've got keep Corbyn, fight workhouse conditions, and for a party that fights for workers.
See, it says formerly militant there, which
That's
is, of
right.
course, what terrifies a lot of Labour MPs, isn't it?
It may terrify some of the 172 Labour MPs, people like Peter Mandelson, Alistair Campbell, but I think amongst ordinary working class people there's a lot of support for the sort of ideas that we're putting forward.
Look at the crowd here, and Labour's problem and its opportunity are summed up. Its problem, the placards, the newspaper sellers, are the very people that they tried to get rid of from this party in the 1980s. The opportunity is that alongside those people are many, many, many people new to politics who are inspired by Jeremy Corbyn in a way they've never been inspired before.
I'm Lauren and I'm from Kings Norton in Birmingham. I'm a teacher at history in a city school in Birmingham.
You've got your Jeremy Corbyn t-shirt.
I have.
Have you been in the Labour Party a long time?
No, I only joined in January, mostly because of Jeremy Corbyn's reforms to education and his policies to stop academisation and ensure decent standards for teachers and support staff in schools.
And had you ever been involved in politics before?
My family are all Conservatives, so I hope they're not listening because they're very disappointed in me for being here.
Enjoy the rest of the afternoon. Big it up for Cheshire. Yeah, mate.
Now, what brings you here?
Do you know, I'm not completely sure. Sort of politics had become a little bit detached from me, or I'd become detached from politics. It was something I was not interested in anymore.
Anymore?
Yes, I was interested in it in the 80s.
Supporting who?
Mrs. Thatcher.
You're a Thatcherite?
I was a Thatcherite, yes.
And you're here at a Corbyn rally?
And I'm here at a Corbyn rally.
Now, boy, that is some transformation.
What we're seeing with Corbyn, I believe, is an alternative to similarities between the main three parties that have just got shrunk. They've got closer and closer together in policy. Very difficult to differentiate between them.
You know, bodegas all stand up now, stand up now. You know, bodegas all stand up now. The wasteland to maintain. The people who've come to this rally, the people who've packed halls and town squares up and down the country, are convinced that they're at the beginning of something new. They are creating a new movement that can prove wrong the pollsters and the commentators and show that the people can get their hands on power.
My name's Mick from Birmingham and I've been a Labour member for a couple of years.
My name's Mick from Birmingham also.
Imagine someone who's in the Labour Party who just cannot see how this guy ever gets to be a winner.
Everybody gets to be a winner. Well, to us he is. I think he already has won. The media is totally against him, especially the BBC.
Let's say the media is hostile to him. Let's say that a number of Labour MPs are against him. How can he ever win?
How can he ever win? People power.
So if you like the idea, that matters even more than the old idea, which is you've got to win an election.
Well, in an ideal world, obviously, I'd like both. But if that is at the expense at the moment of us winning the election, then if that attitudinal change carries on, then in time it will happen, and then for future generations it's going to be a better world to live in. So maybe yes.
The leader of our party and the next Prime Minister of this country, Jeremy Corbyn.
The next Prime Minister of our country, that's the claim. The question is it true?
I look forward to an election result next week, but above all, I look forward to the campaigning after that, and the big election, when the Tories won't be the party of government, it will be a democratic revolution that brings about a democratic change in our society.
The crowd are still hanging around at the front of the stage here, trying to get a picture of Mr. Corbyn, having tried to shake his hand or even kiss you.
They tried to drag me off the stage, actually, but I stood my ground and retained my position.
Do you ever feel like you're a pop star rather than a political leader?
No.
But it feels like this sometimes.
No, I'm just giving out a message that politics can be done differently, and I'm sure you've picked this up yourself. The diversity of the crowd is interesting. They're not all young, they're of all ages. Sometimes they're people who were politically active years ago have come back, as well as a lot of young people who've come into politics for the first time.
One of the things you said in your speech was it's all about strength in numbers. What did you mean?
Strength in numbers about how we win elections, strength in numbers about how we go forward as a party, getting votes basically.
You see, there are plenty of people who are not hostile to you, but don't get how this, admittedly, hundreds of people in a big public square, something we've not seen for years in British politics, how that takes you to power.
Well, we've had now 54 leadership events, of which about 38, 39 I think it is now, have been rallies all around the country. I don't know what the aggregate attendance is, but it's tens of thousands, and that means that there's an interest in politics, and as you've experienced yourself, then it's a pretty diverse crowd. That then becomes surely a very strong campaigning base for the Labour movement, becomes a campaigning factor in towns and cities where there has never been very much activity before, and that does begin to change the debate and national mood, and I think you'll begin to see that play out particularly in local elections next year and after that.
You see, there's a lot of people at your age of the Labour Party who've gone to rallies all their lives and then gone and lost elections, and they think you're about to do the same.
Well, they could be wrong.
Why might they be wrong?
Because the diversity of the crowd. I've been at political rallies all my life of various sorts, and what I find exciting and nice but slightly depressing is when I know half the people at the meeting I go to. I go to these events all over the country, and some of them I don't know anybody at all, and there are people who come up to me who say, I've never been involved in politics before, I'm interested in what you have to say, because I'm interested particularly in the economic argument that you have to actually rebalance society away from inequality towards equality.
Now, you've got to try and get a little fraction of the enthusiasm you get with the crowd here from Labour members of Parliament. Are you going to reach out to them if you win?
Of course I'm going to reach out to them, as I've reached out to them in the past, but yes, of course, and I do understand that. I have made it my business to talk to quite a lot of Labour MPs and will continue to do so, and I hope they will understand that we've been elected as Labour MPs. I'm one myself, of course, and it's a huge honour and a responsibility, and we've got to try and deliver for the people when we do that. It doesn't mean everybody agrees on everything all the time, that I understand, but the general direction of opposition to austerity, opposing the Tories on grammar schools, those are kind of things that actually unite the party these days.
And you'll let them choose the shadow cabinet?
It's not up to me to let people do one thing or the other. There is a thirst for greater democracy in the party, including that.
So in other words, members might choose the shadow cabinet, not MPs?
The National Executive is meeting on Tuesday. We'll be discussing various options, what speed we do all this out, who we consult, how many people are elected to what position, what role the leader has in the appointment of people. Those issues are all open for debate. Surely that debate is a good thing.
You're happy, in other words, not to just hand-pick them yourself?
I think there has to be a widening of the franchise for it, that I understand.
And then you face people who really are hostile to you. Alan Johnson Sorry to quote him, but he described you as incompetent, useless and incapable.
Very kind of Alan. How generous of him.
And he said that he'd do to you what you'd done to other Labour leaders, which is fight year after year until he get rid of them.
Alan hasn't fully understood what my concerns were in the past. My concerns were when a Labour government led by Tony Blair took us into war in Iraq. I opposed that. When he tried to bring in tuition fees, I opposed him on that. And I think he should understand that my opposition to those issues was on the politics of it. I didn't indulge in that sort of language that many have used against me, and I never will.
If you thought you couldn't take Labour to power, would you be ready to walk away?
We're here to win an election. I'm determined to do that election.
Now, you said to The Guardian, communication is everything. This is the first time we've been able to speak to you on the Today programme since this Labour leadership contest began. Do you accept you maybe have to do things a bit differently if you're going to win?
Well, with the deepest and greatest respect to the Today programme, I know it's the most important radio programme on the whole planet. It is not the only radio programme on the whole planet. So yes, of course, we will be reaching out as best we can to all forms of communication.
But you see, many people say, if you can't do the Today programme, if you can't do what you call the mainstream media, you'll never win a mainstream election.
It's not the only radio programme. We've done lots of radio programmes, lots of TV programmes, lots of social media, lots of regional programmes, and we're going to carry on doing it.
And we're delighted you've done us today, so thank you for doing it.
Can I wish the Today programme all the best?
You can. Jeremy Corbyn, thank you very much. He can even choose to appear live on it one day, who knows?
Oh, we'd look forward to that.